says we're live, so I guess we'll find out real quick if that's true or not. Here we go.
We are the tribe from the north, we're brave and we're bold. Defeating our rivals never gets old. Making our way to the Big Sky Conference. Watch out, 'cause here comes the silver and gold. Whoa, whoa. This is Tubbs at the Club for the Vandals of Idaho.
Welcome back, Tribe from the North, brave and bold, to the official, unofficial podcast of your Idaho Vandals and the Vandals affiliate on the Big Sky Podcast Network. I'm your host, Brian Marceau, and we're joined today for the very first time by a longtime listener, former real journalist, Dallas Hammer. Dallas, how's it going?
It's going good, Brian. Thank you for the kind words. I don't know if real journalist is a good way to explain what I used to do, but it's flattering, so thank you. Obviously listened to the podcast a long time. Really excited to be part of it.
Dallas is one of another really well-respected member of Tubbs the Club who worked his way into playing on Tubbs the Club by tweeting at us a ton. That is the route I followed as well. So it's just great to have someone on the show of a similar background. We were draft picks, maybe not seen at first, but hey, you're stuck with us. And today, we're here for rapid reactions to Idaho's back-to-back home losses against Northern Arizona. But first, ain't nothing like cracking a Montucky cold snack, an ultra-refreshing light beer born in majestic Big Sky country. The best part is, when you crack a snack, you're giving back. Montucky Cold Snacks donates 8% of all profits back to local causes, even right here in Idaho, supporting organizations like CWOGS and Idaho Food Bank. Yeehaw! That's freaking awesome. Montucky Cold Snacks, the light American lager for pow-pow rippers, gator wranglers, pony riders, and badass do-gooders. Visit MontuckyColdSnacks.com today to find out how to get your ass some snacks. And now, man, it's just not very good news in men's basketball. The results we have to go over real quick. Thursday, December 31st, Idaho, again, hosting Northern Arizona, our first home games of the year. Idaho loses on Thursday, December 31st, 65-78. Gabe Quinnett led the way for us with 12 points. And then Saturday, or like 5 minutes ago, Idaho goes down 78-83 in an overtime loss, our closest loss of the season. The kind of good news is we had career highs on Scott Blakeney, 23 points. Gabe Quinnett, career high as well, 18 points. And a third career high from Damon Thacker with 17 points. But still, what we have to talk about are losses. So really, Dallas, I'm going to break your Tubbs the Club cherry right now. What's your instant takeaway from those games?
I mean, I think the story is turnovers. You can't turn the ball over this much. I think the first game, it looked like it was a lot of turnovers, and they seemed to be just a step slow on the defensive rotation. There were a lot of open shots, especially when they went on that 24-4 run or whatever it was. That kind of broke the game there. Second game was a little bit cleaner, but really kind of the same story. Just you can't turn the ball over that much and expect to win games, especially, I would say, against a tough conference like the Big Sky. But the unfortunate reality is this is one of the worst teams that we're going to play all year, and this was the best shot we had to get some wins, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, those turnovers you're talking about, Dallas, we were mirrored in those games. We had 15 today. We had 15 on Thursday, and we had 15 today. And for those who listen to the broadcast, Chris King told us heading into the game, Idaho was 310th in the nation in turnovers, which, that hits on a couple things that I've talked about. This team just lacks ball handlers. We were not helped in our second game. Hunter Madden was out with a knee injury. So, I mean, really, with Hunter Madden out, we still haven't seen Kendall McHugh all year, Dallas. We were down to one adequate ball handler. Like Gabe Quinnett had to play some nominal point guard. He's just not a strong enough ball handler to do that. But the biggest takeaway I had, man, is I've been watching these games, Dallas, trying to figure out. Look, we know the jury's in, it's a bad team. We're trying to see what's generalizable for maybe a good team in the future. And I am starting to run out of things to be hopeful about right now. I mean, Scott Blakeney had a great game for his career high, but he Northern Arizona is like uniquely a team he's going to do that against. Scott Blakeney is a good finisher if he has to put every time he has to put the ball on the floor and dribble, his likelihood of scoring goes down. He had a ton of shots today where he didn't have to put the ball on the floor, which is what we need. But Montana's not going to let him do that. Eastern Washington's not going to let him do that. Weber State's not going to let him do that. And I mean, I think to me the big story. Now you're right. Like small story was turnovers was probably the big thing that did us in. I don't know if this team has a win left on their schedule. Mm-mm. Yeah, if you had to put money on it right now, like last season, we won 4 conference games. We also have a new coach. One of the stories we look for in a new coach, Dallas, is always, hey, are we seeing progression? If the team doesn't have to be good, but are we seeing development from season to season? Before I go off the ledge, Dallas, are you seeing development?
I try to be positive, but I don't see any positives here right now. It's bleak. I honestly, if I had to put money down on every one of these games, looking at the schedule, we've got Southern Utah, Northern Colorado, Weber State, Eastern, the Bengals, Portland State, Montana. I don't see really anything here that is going to convince me I could bet and see a winner on one of these. I am afraid this is a winless team that's just not getting any better. I don't know. I want to preface this with they are college athletes, and if you and I went out on the floor against any one of the people on this team, they would wipe the floor with us. I, for one, am 6 foot, out of shape, chubby. There's no way I could play basketball against any of these guys. There is a discrepancy of talent here between Idaho's team and the rest of the Big Sky, and I don't know if it's lack of coaching, if it's just not great recruiting. They do show heart, and I am impressed. They at least took NAU to overtime, but I just don't see improvement. I don't see wins here.
No, and that leads me to my big concern with this team. The part that I don't see getting better. I mean, obviously, when a team's not very good, like you need to improve both on the offensive and the defensive end. Idaho right now, this doesn't reflect the game we played today because full disclosure, just haven't averaged the stats. Heading into this game, Idaho had the second worst scoring defense in the Big Sky, giving up 75.3 a game. NAU had the worst scoring defense in the league heading into the game at 78.6. To me, the thing that is really popping right now is we just can't score. And yeah, we finally broke 70. First time we broke 70 all year.
Yep.
Took overtime to get it. I have a question for you, Dallas. I think we got to put this in the context for what we're dealing with, and this is why we're transitioning so quickly to is there even anything to believe in? Heading into this game, Idaho's averaging 60. Let's just say this bumped our average up to 64, which is probably a little bit higher than it would truly. But just for the heck of it, hey, let's just pretend, 64 is now our average after scoring 78. Dallas in the last 3 Big Sky seasons, how many seasons would 64 points per game not be the worst scoring offense in the league?
My gut reaction is none. Because you're asking me, I'm going to say one, just one, but my gut reaction would tell me none.
Dallas, you're correct. It's one. So this team right now is in the last 3 Big Sky Conference seasons. There's only one team that scored worse than we're scoring right now. That was Sacramento State last year, where they purposely played a very slow style. But at 64, I mean, honestly, the reason I say this is it's hard to explain how bad our offense is, because we would need a spectacular defensive effort every single game right now to stay even within the ball game. Maybe this is the way I should have asked it, Dallas. Let's pretend instead, okay, we're averaging 64. How many are there in the last 3 seasons, Dallas, if we were able to hold teams to 64? So just let's say that's what it takes to get our scoring margin to 0. Are there any teams in the last 3 years in the Big Sky that have allowed fewer than 64 points a game?
I wouldn't feel comfortable saying yes to that.
Well, I have some great news.
Good.
There are 2 teams in the last 3 years that have held teams below 64 points. They're both last year. Northern Colorado at 62.7, Sac State at 59.7. That was kind of an anomaly the years prior. Like the best scoring defense was Montana at 68 and Montana at 68 consecutive seasons. So it would take a really out of the ordinary good defensive effort right now for this team to even be competitive, which leads me to what I think is really the last kind of big takeaway is we, of course, try not to just live in the like fire the coach world, because that's kind of the dumbest world of sports commentary.
Yep.
And I also think like the jury's in. It doesn't matter how bad we are. We're going to have Coach Kloss back next year. But I'm running out of things to be optimistic about. Really, like the one kind of positive is when we play a faster pace, our guards who can't really put the ball on the floor are more likely to get open shots just because there's the defense is on their heels. But Coach Kloss doesn't seem to like to play that way, just like Don Verlin didn't like to play that way. Dallas, are you seeing something different? Do you see anything else that maybe I'm overlooking right now? Because it's bleak right now in men's basketball.
No, it is atrocious. Is honestly the outlook I have for this team for the next couple of years. You mentioned Verlin and Kloss both have preferred to play slower, which is a way to win if you don't turn the ball over as much as we do. Which, since there's not enough talent guard play to stop turning the ball over, if we start moving a little faster, guys like Gabe obviously are going to be able to shoot better, but we start giving the other team more possessions, and the more possessions that other teams get against our admittedly rough outings, it's just going to compound the issue. I don't see any way that this goes better from here on out, either this season or next. I just haven't seen anybody that stands out as like this guy would get him another year or 2 in the system, and we're going to start swinging up. I just don't see it right now.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't disagree that much. The 2 variables we were looking at heading into this weekend were we hadn't seen AJ Youngman play yet, and we haven't seen Kendall McHugh play. We still haven't seen Kendall McHugh play at all. So maybe, like, fingers crossed, he'll be a very good point guard for us, and that suddenly takes a lot off the hands of all our other guards. AJ Youngman, he's a sharpshooter, but he's kind of like a Gabe Quinnett clone, you could say. Not great putting the ball on the floor, real good with his feet set from 3, but not good enough to say he's a difference maker based off what we've seen so far. DeAndre Robinson had played pretty solid throughout the season, but there's just got to be an asterisk there. He's a complimentary player. We don't really have any guys who can create their own shot. So really, Kendall McHugh is our last hope at this point. That if we get a shot creator out of Kendall McHugh, maybe that changes things. And then otherwise, at this point, man, we're looking at, can any of the young guys, because our freshmen, if you think about Steven Madison back when he was a freshman, he was nowhere near the player he became.
Exactly.
So I guess at this point, if you're watching Vandal Hoops, if it's a close game, you just got to be happy because this is a bad team. And we're starting to look at the freshmen as in who is starting to show some skills that can maybe be a difference maker or a solid contributor on an adequate team. But this is the 3rd year of the same thing in Idaho. That counts a coaching change. That counts, Zach Kloss. Part of the reason why I think no jury's in, he'll be back next year is 1, we just gave him an extension, and 2, there's kind of the built-in, we know about the money situation, and 3, there's kind of the built-in narrative already of like, well, he had a weird first season, then he had a COVID second season. By the way, every coach had a COVID season this year, but that's what we're going to hear. So like, to me, my closing point is we just have to be happy if the games are close. That's where Vandal men's basketball is at, and see if there's anything that looks like anyone who looks like it could be a contributor. We just need to hit a home run with recruiting some guy who's not yet on the team.
I honestly think that's what it is. If we had a point guard or another point guard that we could adequately trust to be a playmaker more than once every few possessions, I think there could be enough pieces here that we could start seeing. Like you said, Youngman and Quinnett both can shoot. I mean, that is at least I didn't expect us to really have any shooting. So there's a little bit of shooting this year, but there's just not enough pieces to adequately game in and game out compete. It's nice when they keep them close. It's tough when we see 15, 20-point losses at times.
So that's what I'm going to do to build off that, and then we're going to head out because these after the game podcasts, they're just quick hitters. We shot 7 of 11 on threes in the second half and lost Dallas. 7 of 11. That's 63%. That's, I mean, if you could, any team who shoots that well, that game should be over. Yep. And it's kind of like in our first game against NAU, we shot over 50% the half, 40% from three. We should have been up 10. We're down 1, and which is just showing you, to me, the offensive issue is even on games where we have what seems like everything clicking for us on offense, like the result is still just not very good. So this team, if we can't hold teams to around 60, we're just not going to win. And from this point on, I'd say our next winnable slate, maybe Northern Colorado isn't that good because Northern Colorado did drop a game to Idaho State. So fingers crossed, maybe Northern Colorado coaching change, lost Jonah Radabaugh to graduation last year. Maybe they just don't have the replacement parts. But really, Northern Colorado on January 14th and 16th in Moscow, I think is most likely next theoretically close game. Then after that, it's not until February 11th and 13th at Idaho State. So sorry we don't have any better news for you guys, but we try not to rag on the team, but we're also not going to say the team's solid when they're not. It's just that basketball team. So Dallas, we're going to close the bar. Since this is your first time on, I'm still going to ice you anyway, just because that needs to happen. So getting iced, Dallas Hammer. You get to ask me any sports related question, any question you got whatsoever. It can be It can be sports related. It can be nothing. It can be related to nothing. Just let me know. Then we're gonna close the bar. Call it a day.
I'm gonna double down on this basketball punishment. What if you were Terry Golick? What would you suggest as what you want to shape the basketball program into? Because right now it kind of feels like there isn't a lot of shape or direction. It's kind of just a blob. There's this beautiful new arena being built and a not very good team that's going to be playing in it. What would you want to shape the basketball program towards?
Oh man, really that shifts back to a question of how much instability there really was in the athletic department. Because look, I don't think there's really anything to view Terry Golick on yet, other than to say COVID would be the worst time ever to have to step in and run an athletic department. Idaho did a ton of work to try to be able to play football. It didn't come to fruition, but we were a regional leader in that. And I think what you're seeing right now out of Terry Golick, and also we had Mathew on, the athletic department is trying to become a more functional unit. And after we have some more stability, we don't have to care about Title IX issues, which, by the way, we did previously. We don't have to care as much about NCAA infractions, which, by the way, that's why that was the justification for terminating Verlin, was the NCAA violations, which you could, we were on the show saying that sounds like overkill for something not that big. But if those don't exist, Verlin's still here.
Exactly.
So, phase one, I think that's what they're doing, and we just didn't have the funds to do a national coaching search. But I'm going to say the problem is I think we got the wrong guy. I hope I'm wrong on this, but we've seen no progression in my mind. Like last year, we were sold when the interim title was removed on progression, but that wasn't real progression. We were still worse than the league. We still had the worst scoring margin. The difference is last year we had an all Big Sky caliber guard on our team. We don't have that this year. So I guess what I'd say is the basketball team, it needs to be something that's competitive. Vandals, we were getting adequate attendance, not fantastic attendance, but adequate attendance when the team finished third in the league, when we were over 500, but we weren't thought of as an NCAA tournament competitor. That has to be the step we're moving in. We can't assume this is going to turn into Eastern Washington in a couple of years or something like that. But Idaho, it was not long ago that we were picked to win the league. Phase one, we can't be a laughingstock. Which, look, we're not trying to be harsh on the guys. We know they play hard. We value them as Vandals, but this team is, in Big Sky Twitter, this team is a joke right now. and it needs to be moved into something respectable. Women's thing is different. Women's team, the discussion is how do we become competitive in the first round of the NC2As. Men need to be the team just needs to become respectable. And we're going to close the bar, guys. Dallas, anything you have going on, and where can listeners find you?
You can find me at Hammer Dallas. Be warned, I am a Rams fan, so I'm sure most of you, Los Angeles Rams fans, so I'm sure most people that are listening to this are probably going to hate me. Just be aware of that. I know most people are Seahawks fans. I am a Rams fan, so if you follow me on Twitter, you're probably just going to hate me. Just know that. Other than that, not a lot going on. Just trying to get through the quarantine.
You guys know where to find me at Brian Marceau on Twitter. That's Marceau. Tune in. We still have podcasts coming up on Tuesdays, particularly as football season comes on. But this is how we're going to do basketball. Martin's got a separate women's basketball show dropping essentially right after we're done recording. And now it's time for the best band in all the land to play us out. Sound of Idaho. Go Vandals.
I don't see a video for that.
How about take two? We'll get it. We'll get it next time. Dallas's first time on. That's the mulligan we'd like. But anyway, thanks for downloading, and we'll be back after the next game. Go Vandals.
Go Vandals.